Welcome to the final exam, question number 19. And it says the support for a handrail is subject to a horizontal load of 120 pounds as shown below, and I have recreated that sketch right there. It says what are the horizontal forces at bolts A and B? I forgot to label them. So this is bolt A right here, and this is bolt B right there. So it's asking what are the horizontal forces? And there's a quick way you can go about doing this. A, B, C, and D. So knowing what we know, that the sum of the forces in each direction need to be equal, we only have horizontal, so there's not going to be any y forces. You can look at this as a free body diagram. You could simply sum the moments and you'd get what you needed to get using those. The sum of the moments equations about A or B, you could do either, equals 0. But you can just look at the answers, and we know that since we have 120 pounds, one of these is going to have to be less than the other. So, well, actually, on second thought, let's take a quick look of what's going to happen here. 120 pounds going this way, you know the sum of the forces. So if you did without actually doing it, let's sum the forces about B, it's going to want to turn this way. So to resist that, A is going to have to go that way. And it's going to have to be much larger since it has a shorter moment arm. So we know A is going to go that way. And if A is going to be much larger than this, then we know that B is going to go this way. And then B, since it goes this, sorry, that looks not clean. B, since it's going this way, let's call it the F of A and F of B. We know that F of B plus 120 pounds is going to equal FA. And that's the sum of the forces in the x direction. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Let's just say sum of the forces in the x direction equals 0 equals, there you go, FB plus 120 equals FA. Or you could do minus FA, same thing. And then you switch it over. Anyways, so right off the bat, you kind of know with just looking at it, and once again, I didn't put together this equation, I just kind of did that in my head, but you're going to know that these can't be equal since you have 120 pound force going that way. You're going to have some force going this way, and then some slightly 120 pounds larger than that going the opposite way, so it can equalize the forces. So you know that they can't be equal. So that's going to it's going to get rid of A, which they're equal. It's going to get rid of B because they're equal. And based on what we already said, we know that F of A is going to be larger than F of B. So FA is larger than FB, you know that's C. C. And D, you know, is incorrect because it's the opposite. So without doing any of this math, you can get the answer in a relatively short amount of time. I could have done that in maybe 10 seconds. You could figure that out. And in time, when you get used to doing that and seeing these problems, you'll understand what is going to go into this. But let's go ahead and do this math. Okay, but right now we have two unknowns we can't solve. So what, like I said earlier, you're going to have to do sum of the moments about, let's sum the moments about point B equals 0. Let's define this direction as positive, just so it's less confusing. And we know that we're going to have, since this 120 pound force is going to go that way, we know that that's a negative moment. So we're going to say, you could express that by making this negative or putting that negative out front, however you want to do it. I just kind of make the force negative. And that's going to be times 3 foot 9 inches, so that's 3.75 foot. And then you want to take FA times 6 inches plus FA times 6 inches, which is a half a foot. And then FB is concurrent with B, so it's not going to induce any type of moment. Now we want to solve for FA. I'm going to do this in my head. Hopefully you went all over the examples back in the other. So I'm going to say 120 times 3.75. and that's going to go the other side, so it's going to be positive divided by 0.5, and you're going to get 900. 900 pounds. And as you can see, that is the answer that we actually got. A equals 900 pounds, or FA is what I defined it as. Now we're going to say FB equals, and I actually just substituted this in, 900 pounds. So you're going to end up subtracting 900 minus 120. And that is going to be 780. And that's if you aren't sure about going through that in your head and figuring out the answer just based on the multiple choice that they gave you, then go ahead and do the math. Do this simple equation would figure this out in maybe a minute or two if you could jump in there and recognize that's what you're looking for right away. Just I know sometimes this can be confusing. Take a step back and say, okay, what is actually going to go on in this? I'm pushing, let's think about it, you're pushing on a rail. It's got a bolt right here and a bolt right there. What's it going to try to do? And it's going to try to rotate that way. Of course, since you've done this, you know it has to resist it, so if it's rotating that way, this bolt is going to have force going that way. Or, if you're rotating about this point, and you're wanting to go that way, it's going to make a moment going that way. You're going to have to somehow make a moment going that way to resist it, and therefore FB needs to go this way. And that should just get to a point where hopefully it's going to be a little bit more intuitive about how that works. Alright, I think I've beat a dead horse here, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to question number 20. I'll see you then.